Imagine a world where every single transaction, every click, and every dollar spent online funnels into a single, invisible reservoir. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's the modern American economy. Today, nearly 50 cents of every dollar spent online in the United States flows directly into the hands of one entity: Amazon. But to view Amazon as merely a digital department store is a fundamental misunderstanding of the most sophisticated corporate empire ever constructed. It is not a retailer. It is a digital sovereign state, an all-seeing ecosystem where independent sellers are not partners, but subjects. These subjects are forced to pay what amounts to a 50% tax in the form of fulfillment fees, advertising costs, and referral commissions just to exist within the borders of Bezos' empire. The convenience we feel at our fingertips, the thrill of the Buy Now button, is the shiny veneer masking a predatory mechanism designed to strip mine data and hollow out competition from the inside out. We are witnessing the birth of a new kind of monopoly, one that doesn't just dominate the market, but actually is the market. The true genius and the dark secret of this empire lies in its dual identity. Amazon acts as both the landlord of the marketplace and the most aggressive tenant living within it. This creates a conflict of interest so profound it borders on the dystopian. While millions of small businesses pour their life savings into developing unique products, Amazon sits silently in the background, harvesting every granular data point. They see what customers search for, how long they hover over a photo, and exactly what price point triggers a sale. When a small seller discovers a gold mine product, Amazon doesn't just watch. They move in. Using their proprietary AI, they launch an identical version under the Amazon Basics label, rig the search algorithms to favor their own brand, and effectively delete the original creator from the digital shelf. It is a digital trap where the reward for success is your own execution. This isn't just business. It's a systematic extraction of innovation, where the house doesn't just win. It owns the players, the cards, and the very air in the casino. To understand how we reached this point of total market saturation, we have to look back at the original blueprint. In 1994, inside a modest garage in Bellevue, Washington, the vision was far humbler: the everything store. But Bezos' strategy was never about short-term profits. It was about the flywheel. In the early days, Amazon intentionally lost billions of dollars, a move that would have bankrupted any other company. They sold books, then electronics, then everything else at prices so low that competitors simply evaporated. This wasn't just low prices. It was predatory pricing funded by investor patience and a relentless focus on market share. By the time the world realized that Amazon was becoming a monopoly, the infrastructure was already laid. They weren't just selling products. They were building the rails upon which all modern commerce would eventually travel. They turned the internet into a utility, and then they made themselves the sole provider of that utility. The transition from a bookstore to a global hegemon was a calculated sequence of colonizing one category at a time until there was nowhere left for consumers to hide. As the infrastructure grew, so did the dependency. The introduction of Amazon Prime in 2005 was the masterstroke that locked the doors of the prison. By offering free shipping for a flat annual fee, Amazon didn't just gain customers, they gained psychological loyalty. Once a consumer pays for Prime, their search behavior changes. They no longer look for the best price across the web. They look for the Prime badge. This created a massive, captive audience that forced third-party sellers to use Amazon's logistics services, known as FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. If you are a seller and you don't use FBA, you don't get the Prime badge. If you don't get the badge, you don't get the sales. It is a brilliant, circular trap. Amazon effectively forced the entire retail world to pay them for the privilege of shipping their own goods. By 2010, the everything store had become the only store for millions of households, creating a feedback loop where more customers led to more sellers, which led to more data, which ultimately led to the absolute power the company wields today. The mechanics of this monopoly are fueled by a level of data surveillance that would make intelligence agencies envious. Consider the buy box, the small white box on the right side of an Amazon product page where the Add to Cart button lives. Over 82% of Amazon sales happen through this single button. Amazon's algorithm determines who wins this box based on price, shipping speed, and a secret seller health score. However, internal documents and antitrust investigations have revealed that Amazon frequently manipulates these variables to favor its own private label products, even when they are more expensive or have lower ratings than third-party alternatives. In 2023 alone, Amazon generated over $140 billion in revenue from seller services, which is more than the total GDP of many small nations. This seller tax has increased significantly. A decade ago, Amazon took about 19% of a seller's revenue. Today, between advertising and fulfillment fees, that number often exceeds 50%. The math is simple. The more the seller works, the more Amazon earns, regardless of whether the seller makes a profit. Beyond the digital marketplace, the logistics prison is where the human cost of this efficiency becomes visible. In Amazon's 1,100 fulfillment centers worldwide, the algorithm is the boss. Employees are tracked by a metric called time off task, or TOT. Every second not spent scanning a package, including bathroom breaks, is logged. Reports indicate that at some facilities, the injury rate is double the industry average, with 6.6 serious injuries per 100 workers. The system is designed for maximum throughput, treating human labor as a disposable commodity. This hyper-efficiency is what allows your package to arrive in 24 hours, but it creates a culture of algorithmic management, where workers are fired by automated emails when their productivity drops by even a few percentage points. Amazon's turnover rate is a staggering 150% annually, meaning they burn through their entire frontline workforce every 8 months. This isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. High turnover prevents unionization and ensures that the workforce remains in a state of perpetual, desperate hustle, perfectly tuned to the needs of the algorithm. The final layer of the monopoly is the cloud fortress, Amazon Web Services, AWS. While we see Amazon as a store, the business world sees it as the backbone of the internet. AWS owns roughly 32% of the global cloud infrastructure market, powering everything from Netflix to the CIA. This is the ultimate dark secret. The retail side of Amazon can afford to be aggressive and barely profitable because AWS generates the massive cash flow, over $22 billion in operating income in 2023, that subsidizes their conquest of the physical world. This cross-subsidization is what makes them untouchable. They can lose money on groceries, fashion, and hardware for a decade because their cloud servers are taxing every other company on Earth. When you use a competitor's app, there is a high probability that app is running on Amazon's servers. They aren't just winning the game. They owned the stadium and are charging the other team rent. It is a perfect circle of dominance. Retail provides the data, and the cloud provides the capital to turn that data into a weapon. But the tide is beginning to turn. The very scale that made Amazon invincible has finally made them a target. In September 2023, the Federal Trade Commission, alongside 17 state attorneys general, filed a landmark antitrust lawsuit against Amazon. The charge? That Amazon is a monopolist that uses a set of interlocking anti-competitive and unfair strategies to illegally maintain its monopoly power. The turnaround isn't coming from within the company, but from a global awakening of regulators who realize that the consumer welfare standard, the idea that monopolies are fine as long as prices are low, is obsolete in the age of data. Governments are now looking at platform neutrality, the concept that a company cannot own the marketplace and sell its own products on it simultaneously. This legal battle is the final boss for Bezos' empire. For the first time in 30 years, the strategy of get big fast is being met with a break them up reality. In response, Amazon is shifting its strategy from pure conquest to essential integration. They are moving deeper into healthcare with the acquisition of One Medical and into our homes with the purchase of iRobot and Ring. The goal is to become so deeply embedded in the fabric of human life that breaking them up becomes surgically impossible. They want to be the OS for your life, not just your shopping. However, a new wave of decentralized competition is rising. Platforms like Shopify are empowering brands to sell directly to consumers, bypassing the Amazon tax. Consumers are becoming increasingly aware of the Amazon Basics trap and are seeking out original creators. The monolithic empire is facing a two-front war, a legal siege from the government and a grassroots rebellion from a market that is tired of being mined for data. The question is no longer how big Amazon can get, but whether a monopoly of this scale can survive in a world that is finally learning to see past the convenience. The story of Amazon is the ultimate business parable for the 21st century. It teaches us that in a digital economy, the most valuable commodity isn't oil or gold or even capital. It is the direct relationship with the customer. Amazon won because they inserted themselves between the world and its needs. The lesson for every entrepreneur and leader is clear. Convenience is the ultimate drug, but dependency is the ultimate trap. As a business, if you don't own your data and your platform, you are merely a tenant in someone else's empire, subject to their whims and their taxes. As consumers, we must realize that our one-click ease comes with a hidden cost: the erosion of choice and the destruction of the very innovation we claim to value. The dark secret of Amazon isn't just how they built a monopoly, it's how they convinced us to help them build it. The empire may be vast, but its future depends on whether we continue to choose the comfort of the prison over the complexity of the free market. The age of the digital sovereign is here, and the only way to win is to stop playing by their rules.